to live stream the
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah, it says on all that stuff up there on the.
No, I can. I know you can see it too. Ah, what,
Ta-da!
are we,
Oh, what a weird looking.
now it wants me to try
No, dismiss.
dismiss, go away. Now what?
No, I would minimize this,
What?
minimize this thing. How do you do that?
I don't know how you do.
You click
that.
on the minus sign in the top right corner.
Okay.
And then,
Now do I hit got it?
Yes, got it.
Oh, good. It's good to do these things with a committee.
there, you're on.
So
Live.
many things I joined with the
Recording.
meeting have that got it.
Okay,
Hey.
well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Did you just get here?
I feel like it. I was on the plane all day yesterday and last night I was just.
I would take that off, but.
It's cool.
Oh, I did not need to.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning. As I
All right.
said,
I am calling the meeting to order at 5:35. Think it can be short. You'll all be thrilled to hear. All right, are there any adjustments to the agenda?
where's the, I've got a copy that I want
Do you have an adjustment?
I'm only, if we're gonna talk about the Westgate, right?
You're in there. You're already on the agenda.
It's wonderful here. Thank you.
All right, review and approval of prior meeting minutes. Glad you're here.
I'm glad to. Thank you for being flexible.
Where did Leslie go again after they got back?
I was happy with the minutes, I have nothing changed.
No
Well,
shame, yeah.
anyway.
It's like,
Are there any changes to the minute?
no.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Yes, I can.
All in favor? Done. Okay. Earth Day cleanup report. That would be Henry.
It went pretty well, in the sense of the amount of trash, the weather wasn't great, but one of the primary reasons it went really well is a couple of people knew it was gonna rain on Saturday and they cleaned up their road on Friday
Rather than.
and brought the stuff up, which got me thinking, not a bad idea to think about how to try to make it,
Effective.
that Saturday becomes the day we pick up at the end of your road kind of deal.
Oh,
It's
right.
a beginning idea to me, but, that's something I want to think about and I'll update a little more on it, but I just, made a couple notes for myself about how you might go about doing that.
Like you could pick up your road all week, whatever day is.
Well,
You and it'll be picked up on Saturday.
right, or please, if you can manage to bring it to the library so that we get a picture of the huge pile of stuff.
Well.
But, as I said,
Yeah.
it's all early innings on the idea, but it's just another way to try to make it be a bit more effective.
Yeah.
And then,
And I appreciate you driving by Dublin and picking up those tires because they are gone. And I know I didn't go out to pull them out, so
yeah,
somebody did.
yes, yeah. Yeah, well, they're like crocuses, they keep coming up.
I could tell the difference.
The traction, the crocuses.
That's the way I feel about it. On my property, I probably found about 35 tires over the last 3 years on my property, one place or another, and I just found another one yesterday.
In
So they're off in the bushes and stuff, and they've been there for 40 years, 50 years.
Would you like to clean up my wood someday?
No, it's the same thing, they probably look very similar. Yeah. But anyway, that's, I do think that it's in a sense of developing a stronger sense of community and picking up more trash. It's one way to look at it. And I gotta admit, I've never looked at Earth Day cleanup in that manner before, but seeing that thing happen once, I thought, well, that's a pretty good idea, so.
So Earth did pick up essentially.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think St. George got rained out of their chosen day too. You don't see the signs because they only put signs down in Spruce Head.
I thought the signs worked out okay, but rain's always the issue. What do you do if it's, you know? You could look ahead 3 or 4 days, you know. Then you need another set of signs saying rain day. But,
Are you done? Are you
yeah,
done?
yes,
You can.
yes.
Do we want to think about having a rain day in the future? Of course, that complicates it if people have been collecting trash.
Oh, no, I
a
understand.
week ahead, I think it's gonna be either or.
Yeah, no, I understand. Weather's always an issue and, you know, in thinking about it, well, put some thought into it, but, no, I mean, the other side of it is that the nicest way it works is you clean up your road and you've got 8 bags and you schlep them over to the library, but most people aren't gonna put 8 bags of trash in the back of their car, they're gonna leave it there and let us know that's where it is. It ends up being a pickup day for a crew going around and doing stuff, and so.
I mean, the thing is,
That would be
the
more
items
efficient.
that usually carry a fee, that's essentially like the tires.
Yeah. I think, so to your point, if you make it that it's not required that you bring it to the library, but you leave it at the end of the road, it sort of helps a little bit on the issue if there's rain, because then they can just make a decision on whether they want to go pick it up in the rain in the first place.
Yeah,
But it becomes an issue of establishing a phone number they can call, or a place that they can call and say, this is where, you know, I've got 5 bags of trash at the end of what street.
That's another thing we should do in future is actually say, here's the number to call for pickup or for more information or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it should be a valid number too, probably.
There should be
It
what?
should be a valid.
That would be nice.
Well, mine works, it still isn't always valid. So.
Oh, right. So, we're kind of backing into doing this anyway, but what I'd like to do or think about doing in the future is actually have it be, like, I know Linda was cleaning up Waterman's Beach and
I just did it on my own, cause
I know.
I stepped out of my house and I was on the way to the library and it was like lashing with rain.
Right,
yeah, well, see, that is the problem.
right, yeah.
If on the day it rains, but what I'm thinking is it could be more of a community building thing. And we get more done if we could have ahead of time, reach out, say we'd like to build a team that's doing Dublin Road and a team that's doing Waterman's Beach and a team that's doing Grierson or whatever, and reach out to people we know, would say, would you be the captain? Would you try and get your neighbors involved? So
You
that
don't
we
need
clean up
teams
more.
to do Dublin, I mean, you know, I've done Dublin on my own, and it doesn't take a team to do Dublin, it doesn't take a team to do Waterman's.
Yeah, but it takes the team sometimes to get people out in the first place.
Yeah.
It becomes, for one thing, I don't like to do it alone, and I didn't do it this year because Andy was out of town. Besides, it was raining. Either alone would have been enough reason, but I do not like doing Route 73
Then you just
alone.
need one person, you don't need a team, that's all.
Well,
But
yeah, but that's,
what I'm suggesting is, okay, and we pick ones that are messier. I mean, certainly I would like to see a team doing Buttermilk and doing Westbrook, which includes people who are there warning traffic to slow down and, you know,
If you've got even one extra person, you've got somebody else watching for the traffic that isn't behaving.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it
So
makes it more of a social event too.
absolutely,
which tends to
that's
add
what I-
participation.
right, it not just, I went out and did this, but I got to know my neighbors a little better
Right.
and share an experience with them.
Or beer they brought.
Well, you know, anyway, we got time to think about it before the fall cleanup.
Yeah.
But I'd really like to see if we can use this as a way to get in touch with more people.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd be more connected with more people if we reached out and asked, can you be a team captain? Would you be willing to do this? And they'd be more connected if they got their neighbors involved.
And I did say this before, but I really do mean it, because of what's happening in my life, I'm gonna have connection to the local school. And the town I was in before, we developed Earth Day into, a social event, it started with the school. Because the kids get involved and they drag their parents out and everybody has fun, and, by the time we were done, some of the young kids that were picking up litter brought their kids to pick up litter. That made me feel good. So yes, I mean,
Okay,
I was, next meeting, I'll bring in kind of an outline that gets a little more definite about what needs to, so we can decide what the action points are, because, it's, between now and then, it's 12 meetings, or 11 now, so.
so what is this change in your life that I missed?
Oh, I'm having people move in with us. I'm getting
Oh.
a non-blood grandson, is what I'm getting.
Oh, nice.
You're getting a foster grandson.
Well, yeah, I guess you can put it that way. I'm more of a foster grandparent than this, he's a foster grandson, yeah.
And something about the shop.
He's fostering you as a grandparent, okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
What is that?
All right.
Insanity is inherited, we get it from our children?
Yeah.
I think I'll find out.
Yeah, that's
No,
what
it's
I was
gonna be
just.
smooth sailing. Everybody I say that looks at me like, he'll learn.
Yeah, I just came from a week with my grandchildren.
Yeah,
I came home and blah, blah, blah.
How old are they?
The youngest one just turned 20, and then there's a 22-year-old.
Oh, well, they're not
And then the
little.
oldest one is 30. Well, the two younger ones are still living at home. And that was quite an experience.
but we digress, right?
Okay, so that's all I wanted to do is plant a seed to be thought about.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay. So update on South Thomas and Forest Preserve. The progress to report is that the survey is happening. And a rumor surfaced, I'm not sure. Did you hear that, Catherine? Did I dream it? That it might turn out that it's gonna cost less than he estimated?
That's what I told you, yes,
Okay,
and I think I heard that from John. So unless I misunderstood, this is what I think is the case.
so, that means that even with, oh no, well, I don't know how the math works, but we got a 12,000 grant. Georges River will take their cut of like $900 something, whatever,
8%.
8%, whatever that comes to. But I think they'll only take, maybe they're only taking, I don't know if it's percent of the grant or percent of what they pay out. So they're only gonna,
That's probably
No,
the
it's of
gross.
the grant,
of
It's
the
the
grant,
gross, yeah.
the fees to. until
is
give
of the grant, okay, so there could be leftovers, and then the question is, can that money be repurposed, which is up to the grantor? And if so, what would we repurpose it to? And I'm thinking, Catherine, you mentioned appraisal, but I would put off appraisal because,
I didn't mention. the
did
person.
you? Somebody,
I mentioned using the money to make permanent markers on the boundaries of the plot.
oh, well, that would fit, I think, within, without having to ask their
Excuse
permission
me.
to do it.
A surveyor will say this is where it is and walk
They
away.
put a stick,
Oh,
and
oh.
nothing is easier
Okay.
than a little,
All right, yeah.
imp to
Yeah.
come and take the stick
No, I
out.
understand. It's like the
And then
corner
get
lot
nothing
used to
to
be
show.
3 marks of the big white pine, used to be the corner lot, because it was a big white.
And somebody cut down,
Yeah,
and now it's, right.
At the corner of the
Okay.
stone wall next to where the barn used to be.
yeah, yeah.
But if,
I read these descriptions.
if we have in the neighborhood of 3,000 left over,
Let's
Hey.
not count our chickens.
no, I'm not counting any chickens, I'm just wanting to be
Tree.
ready in case there are chickens.
Poultry,
Well,
yeah.
then we'll have time to deal with it. when
So,
it
but
comes.
the monuments are not going to cost $3,000.
You
I
don't
cannot
know that?
imagine, you think?
Well, first of all, there is reaching the corners, which might be involved and take a little time, you know. Some of the, the corners of that lot are deep in the forest, so, if you have to schlep.
Oh, so it's not just the corners, it's paying somebody to place them,
What's that?
paying somebody to get them there.
Well, were you
whatever.
going to bring them there?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Probably
You
couldn't
wanna
live it,
pile
let
of rocks
alone.
right here. Well, there's plenty of rocks.
Okay.
But they're spread all over the place.
All right, so it may answer itself. I would think monumenting is something that would fit within the intention of the grant. And you're thinking, I gather, that we could go through all the money doing that.
Yeah, well, I don't know, because,
Okay.
given what it costs to build a wall or, something, we have to determine what the permanent marker should be. Because anything that can be easily moved is not gonna work, and, so I guess the surveyor may have some recommendations, and, then we'll have to figure out, what's the best option.
Right,
Okay,
yeah, well, the one I've seen deep in the woods is generally speaking sunken concrete with a marker put in it, and then something
Yeah.
above that.
Yeah,
But it has a high metallic signature.
yeah,
Find it.
and that's the key, so, so
Well, we'll
that,
find out, but no, I thank you for bringing it up, the concept up, because I think it's a good idea. One of the reasons, is that one of the corners is mine, but.
You've still got money, you can put some intermediate signage to.
right, along
So
that
people
very
know when
long
they come
run.
along, when they come up against the line.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
true.
Anybody know how far up this paving goes?
it goes to the,
Stumped up, it goes all the way up,
Just,
because that's gonna end up being kind of an access
Yeah.
point, this starts to see, yeah.
yes, and no.
I hope actually the current surveyor, I hope they are doing GPS coordinates, not to mark the boundaries, no? They are not using still the old system of, 300 feet.
Chains and.
For the middle of the
Chains.
I don't know.
No, these people are very professional.
Yes, yeah, we'd assume that.
What was the original estimate?
12,000.
Well,
12. And what did you get a grant for?
12.
12, but minus 8% to go to the.
Yeah. Okay, but where did you hear, anybody hear that it?
Well, I think I heard John said he saw maybe I misunderstood, it was not the same thing he was talking about, but that he said it could cost less, and I heard 8,000, so.
Well,
That will have to be verified, I don't know.
I'm sure that they would make an estimate so that they wouldn't come back and ask for more money.
Right.
They'd be under, they make people, they know they'd make people happy by being a little under.
I think that's right, because I looked at what he needed to do. He's starting from a preliminary survey of the Smith property, and all he has to do is add in that little corner of Klein. So it occurred to me that 12,000 seems a little steep for what he still has to do, and so that could very well be it.
Cool.
We'll be happy.
But so, did we ask him to just survey the land we purchased, not include the town land?
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
So,
There is a survey of the town land.
well, mine, except those 2 parcels which are under.
Yeah, but we don't need to bite that off now.
Well, that's what I was asking, was that included? The answer is
No.
no. I mean,
No, he's only surveying what we were calling the preserve in our grant application.
Right, that would strike me as.
Yeah.
Righteous, as effective, whatever we put forward in the application, what gets surveyed. But there's the point, if there was leftover funds and we wanted to survey more, depending on the grantee, blah, 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 we can look at that, but there it is, yeah.
Okay. Another small development is, as I said at last meeting, I have select board's approval in concept to send a letter to the donors and ask if they would let their money be repurposed if it's not needed, because we might get a grant for the full purchase price. And I have sent a draft. And I've heard back from Jeff and Sue, they both like it. I haven't heard from John because he's in Croatia, but I trust he will return someday and tell me what he thinks. So if that works out, the letter will go out individually to every donor, thanking them again for what they gave, explaining that we may not need it for the purpose we asked for, and if that is the case, would they be willing to let it be repurposed for the other needs, which, and I lay out some of the biggies that we're going to be coming up against.
Yeah.
So, once that's done, then we'll go on to a letter to the whole town saying, okay, here's the other stuff we're gonna need to raise money for and do another appeal. So, but I should just mention that I will be out of the country from May 22nd to June 9th. So nothing's going to happen during that time. So, and then the other thing is, we have been trying to find another forester so that we can be doing our due diligence and hearing from more than one. And Catherine, would you like to summarize?
Well, there are two other foresters in, that can serve Knox County. They are the closest, and one of them, I've talked to him on the phone, and we have had several email exchanges. And, charges $75 an hour. It might be available this summer, but then, he wants a lot of details as to what we would be asking from him. And I dug today, actually a small report that comes from the state and one of the website on, how to approach a forester and the services and so forth and the recommendations. So, we can follow those recommendations in trying to design the parameters of what we want them to do.
Right.
But things have been so easy with Marin that I figured it would all be so easy to deal with.
What happened to her?
Well, she's on hold. We can't just commit to her until we have several quotes. We are a government, entity.
Oh, yeah.
And, but, and I've sent her an email to say, we have not forgotten about you, this is where we are. We submitted the grant, and she was very kind and saying, great, and no problem, so that, And the second one, Paul Miller, Forestry for You, out of Washington, Maine. I got the number, I called several times, and again, I don't know if it's my house and electronics right now, but I just keep getting error messages. Call cannot be completed. And that's why I went online and tried to verify the number, and several sources list the exact same number, but for some reason it cannot go through.
Okay.
So I don't know if you changed the number and has not notified any directory of it, which would be a problem for a business. And that's where I am. So we have two foresters right now to spend on.
In the sense of how many quotes do we want to
Well,
present?
3 would be a max. I would
Okay,
think,
good.
because any other forester is located even further, so it's the cost is gonna go up, with travel time and stuff like
Right.
that.
And the parameters that you were talking about is strictly so that the forester that you were talking about at the time, it's just for his satisfaction to know how many hours I might have to put into collating the data.
Yeah, you see, Marion didn't walk the land. She was able to figure it out from the map. So this one, I had to send maps, and he wanted me to collect them. I mean, it was very demanding, I felt. And did you have a chance to go talk to him at all?
No, what I've been doing, and I've had a million other things, so I'm working on replying to the questions he asked, and I will run it by you before I send him anything.
And I sent you today, so you probably have not seen it, but that report, on how.
I saw that it came in, I didn't have time to
Yes,
open
and
it.
that's the thing, so, I mean, we have the land, and again, I would go to what Marion, proposed, it's like, we want the land survey so that we have an idea of the stands, what's in here. And I mentioned that to him, the invasives and the idea, in my first email, I said, the purpose of conservation and recreation. So yes, we want to open some trails, but he needs to have that all spelled out, I
Right.
guess. And, so, you know, before we go any further in the communication with them, I would definitely review that document that I sent you and, include that, but,
So as far as the timeline goes on establishing who's giving us the lowest reason, best bid at the lowest price, there's nothing that's dependent upon waiting for that information in the sense of the grant cycle
no, we don't.
at this time.
We don't have money allocated
Okay.
for that purpose now, and, once the donors agree to repurpose their donation, I would, and again, if we could hear from the grant, that would be good, but it seems like the next hurdle will be the appraisal, so I would assume that donated money would be directed to the
Well,
appraisal.
That's what I was gonna say about the appraisal, is that its effectiveness is time limited. So we don't wanna do it too soon. In other words, and if you're appraising a property, if you're putting your house on the market, the appraisal has to be within a certain time of that. And we may be waiting months or the better part of a year to find out about the Land for Maine's Future grant, which is the first one we'd need an appraisal for. So we can be looking for who we would use and what their terms are gonna be and so on, but I would not.
Commit to anything, but
Yeah.
no, that's the whole
Yeah.
point. I mean, we're not ready to do that. But even finding out, availability of people, how much it would cost to have an idea.
Well,
of
that's
that.
all fine. That's all
Yeah.
fine to do now. But in terms of saying, well, if we've got some money, this is where it should go.
Well, we need to prepare to have to pay for that, so.
Well,
we
that's
encumber
what
the
I
money.
think, no, I
But
think
the
that's.
timeline on this is running out about a year out. We
Yeah.
want to have it.
We'll have time to raise the money for it.
Oh, yeah, given how much we raised the first time around, you really hope that people are gonna give.
It was a very minimal ask from John, and he didn't follow it up in any way.
Yeah,
And he was doing it mainly because he felt that he had committed to the town meeting that we would seek donations, and so he could say, there, I sought donations. And he would tell me, he didn't even care how much we raised. So
it was a
this time
minimal
we're
ask.
serious.
I think a large part of the town doesn't have any idea they were
Yeah.
asked.
No, I plan to make it clear that we need this much money to do this kind of stuff, and if we don't, the whole thing falls apart. Or words to that effect.
Yeah, but the way things are going right now, I think the selectmen stand in a very strong position in front of the town. Thanks to the work of the Conservation Commission, they stand in a pretty strong position on what they promised to do with this, to attempt to do and what has been achieved. Now, granted, the achievement was just like this body. But they're the ones that take the heat in the long run. So I'm feeling very positive about what's going on in the sense that, if we do have to go back to the town for money a year from now or whatever it is, over the next couple of years to get stuff done, we have a good history here, thanks to y'all's work.
Well, we're doing this in a very, good, era in this particular.
Yeah, there's money
in this
available.
state. There is
Yeah.
there's lots
Yeah.
of money out there.
Yeah,
Right, and we can be seeking grants for fair amounts of this. So that what we're telling the townspeople is, we'll need help raising enough money to match, because most of them are gonna want 50% cash or in-kind match.
right. And the other way of getting that is to get it approved at a town meeting. And the history that we're showing right here, if this continues for the next couple of years, I sincerely believe that you could go to town meeting and say, we've got to come up with X number of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, because we can get it matched by the state. And with what's happened so far, we're in a very good position to have people say yes about that.
Well, okay, there's lots of routes to go. One thing that I found very heartening was that when we were writing the grant application and we put out a request for support letters, I had no idea. I have to count them up, but there were letters and letters and letters, and they were all so excited about having the forest preserved.
Beautiful.
So,
We got
Yeah.
great support on that.
yeah,
You see,
Yeah.
that makes my point. So we got the support to write the letters and people saw obviously the appeal from the town to do that.
Yeah.
So my guess is they saw the appeal to donate money just the same way, they just chose to ignore it.
Money and thanks are two different things, you know, but.
So don't say they didn't see it, it's just didn't think it was a thing important on their list at that point.
We shall see, but, yeah,
Yeah,
So
it's always
I
important.
am-
Remember, $50
very
means a lot to a lot of
optimistic.
people, means a lot to a lot
Yeah.
of people.
Yeah, and that's the point, but like if they can give even $20, you
Yeah.
know, we will be happy to get it, you know.
Mhm. Mhm. And we should say that in the letter that, and a donation
No,
of
small.
any size helps.
Yeah,
We'll write your name on a rock and put it at the corner of the property. So. You have to put it there yourself.
Okay, I'm sure all you people would like to go home sometime tonight, so are we done with that?
I am.
Oh, I just want to say one other thing. On the trails bond, I haven't read the text of the legislation, which is passed into law. But I read a bit of a news article about it, and a depressing amount of that money is earmarked for trails for motorized vehicles. I was stunned.
I mean roads.
I mean, whatever, but they're talking about ATVs.
Oh,
I know.
Well,
I'm
they
still-
generate a lot of income.
Anyway, I want in my copious spare time to actually read the text and report to you guys on it. But there's not much left over for us little folks that just want trails for people to walk on.
All right,
but at the same time, you know, it's nice to have them thinking of designated areas for ATVs so that they don't come and destroy.
Yes, there'll be lots more trails for those guys, right? They won't need us. Anyway,
stay on.
Okay. now we are up to water quality.
Okay, we are starting the process. Last night Wes attended a training from DEP on the equipment and the interface between the data we take and the state. There's a lovely online form that is filled out, so that part of it's going very well. Kristen Bendel from DEP is coming here on the 20th of May at 12:30 to do an in-person training right here in South Thomaston. Weather permitting, we'll do it on the town pier so that we can use the equipment and actually put it in the water and let people see how it goes. And so keep your fingers crossed on that. And so again, that's May 20th at 12:30. And the next thing that needs to happen is for somebody that would be me to look at the tide charts for the next, because we'll be sampling June 1st through the end of September, that's 4 months. Look at the tide charts because we are tidal. And so we can't say, oh, we're gonna sample every other Monday at 4 o'clock. Because you have to sample on just after high tide. So I'll have that done in a week and we'll have the actual, you know, the thing. And then the biggie is gonna be to get the volunteers. And that was a big non-starter. I think at where were we? We were trying to get volunteers and, oh, we put that thing, that training on April 30th and apparently nobody signed up for it. So if we're gonna have to do it more aggressively. That's really in a nutshell, that's it. What I'm gonna do is I have a list of people who said verbally that they would be volunteers. And I will tell you now, I have a list, I know who you are.
I didn't say it.
It says right there.
I didn't say it.
All right, I'm writing it down. And would anybody else like to be lined out? Okay, so any volunteer is gonna get one of these really cool stickers for your car that, you know, so that's,
Oh, that's a cool.
I have
sticker.
one from years ago.
I know, this is cool. And all you have to do, and you don't have to volunteer to do it every 2 weeks. You only have to volunteer to do it once in a while. And that way, if we have enough people, it's not gonna be an issue, because we'll have a chart to say, these dates, this time, usually hour and a half does it once you've done it 1 or 2 times. Equipment's provided by the state. It's really not a hard job. It's just, getting organized so that we know who's doing what when.
So for a volunteer, would it be possible to volunteer, say, as long as high tide comes between 7 o'clock in the morning and 10?
Yes,
Yeah, that's,
that's
at work in the summer, but that's the kind of way I could play it.
all right. Between 7,
7 to 10, any day of the week, it just doesn't matter what day of the week it is at that point, so, at that time of day.
any day. All right, wonderful, Henry. That's exactly what I need.
Every 2 weeks it will occur in there somewhere.
No, you can't say it.
I could be lucky, I could be unlucky.
Yeah, no, it's not ever gonna always do that, because we have high tides twice a day, as you know.
Yeah,
So you will have specific
I will
dates,
have specific dates.
and then
Right.
people can say, I'm in town that day, I'm not in town that day, so
That's
on.
exactly right. So, like I say, we've got that in-person training on the 20th, right here. I'll have all the people.
12:30.
12:30, thank you. And, so people come, there's a form that they have to sign agreeing to do it, and there's a couple, she'll go through her spiel about the equipment and everything. So that's where we are. I'm very optimistic that this is gonna work. And meanwhile, volunteer and sticker.
Is this like box tops?
Or for this training on the 20th?
I don't know.
I know.
But no, it's no big, it's
My
not.
age is
She's
pretty
coming
obvious.
here, we're gonna be on the town dot, and I'd love to know who's coming.
Who is she?
Her name's Kristen Findell, and she works for DEP, and she is the supervisor of all of these water quality groups, and they're all over the coastline. Each community, not every community unfortunately, but we kind of work with Thomaston, because we share a river with them, but and she works with all of them. So more good fun to follow. We will start just doing sampling. We have got to work out the part about getting bacteria samples processed.
Analyzed, right, yeah.
Yeah, and 2 years ago, Thomaston Pollution Control did it for free. Not only that, they gave us supplies. It was awesome, but John is no longer the head of that, and so I don't know, the new one is just coming in. I'll go and see this new person and see if they'll help us that way as well. And, as far as needing funding, there's probably gonna be some things, maybe like grabbers and bags and, collection bottles and so on. And, so, maybe I'll I think there was some money that went into the Conservation Commission.
So you're talking now specifically for gathering information on bacteria.
I'm talking about the project in general, supplies for the project and processing bacterial samples if we can.
Okay, you mentioned funding, and
Funding means dollars to.
So can
If
you
it's done
come up,
for free, we're home free.
right,
It
but for
comes
the
to-
water testing itself, there's no money, and there's no municipal money involved in that.
Absolutely.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
The equipment's provided by the
Yeah.
state. And the training's provided by the state.
Yeah.
And all we have to do is have volunteers to do
Yeah.
take the training and do the sampling.
But if we decide that the value of doing the bacterial studies, either this year or in future, if we want to do that, then there is an investment that needs to come from the town.
Yes, if, depending on what the
Yeah,
situation. is.
depending on the situation, okay.
I would suggest that this year, we like a shakedown cruise.
Mhm.
And we get a sense of what resources are there. What costs we might have. So
Oh, I
that
got all
next
that,
year,
because we've
but
been doing
next
it.
year, it can then go in the budget.
Oh, perfect, okay.
So we don't have to be scrambling for money. It's going to
Yes.
be a Conservation Commission enterprise.
Oh, I love it.
So, but it's too late this year. I mean, the budget's,
I get that, but I see
set.
what you're saying, so.
But
we
so-
need a budget for the project.
yeah,
Yes. And that'll be actually great because we'll get that information when we do self-find this year.
Yeah.
Right, and as long as it doesn't, take your breath away when we get the numbers of, what, if we wanted. It would be good to have the numbers. If Thomason's gonna do it for free, well, great, but if a miracle doesn't
That's gonna be
happen,
supplies.
what would it cost?
Right,
And so that we can then look at, do we think we can persuade the town to foot that bill, whatever it is, or whether we just have to stick with what we can get tested without cost?
all right, so I agree, exactly what you said is correct. The supplies to do the sampling, because we
Mhm.
don't have to do the bacterial part.
Right,
It's if we want to do
Right.
it, but we don't have to do it.
got it.
So as far as the supplies to do the basic sampling, we're set.
Yeah,
And
so,
so
right,
just whether we can enhance that by doing the bacteria, which I'm sure everybody would agree is, something that we certainly would want to know about the bacteria.
yeah, so
and,
let's see if there's a way.
Yeah. Got it.
Now, one other thing,
Mhm.
will any of the getting to where you're sampling involve crossing private property?
At this point, no, the sites, like the Cuddy Cove is one, I think of brain fart, thank you, Valley Hack, that low place in the road, there's a stream that comes under that,
Mhm.
that's one. You're standing on the side of the road,
Except
Taking
here
your
on public
Um,
property,
obviously, the town landing,
sure,
But even, okay, I want to, the first one, Cuddy Cove, I heard from an owner there who said she had been bothered to see people that come and were on her place without having asked permission.
and I would love to know who that was, because I definitely, Annette used to go and talk to those people.
Okay, so
And
that's Pat.
Pardon?
Pat Doherty? Yeah.
Okay, so, and, yes, that's exactly the kind of, we should be doing that with everybody. As a courtesy, if it's privately owned property.
absolutely. Our bylaws require us not to go on private property without permission.
Okay, I'm good, that's good to know. Muscat. This permission. Now, obviously, like at the culvert. We're on the culvert.
Oh, yeah, Ballyhack, I think it's like, I think actually Ballyhack is the limit with South Head,
Mhm.
so it's probably town line
Yeah.
or whatever. Well, in Cuddy Cove, where were you on Pat's property? Well, she owns a little piece of land where there is that cement pad at the top.
Yeah, so we used to park there
Yeah.
and then walk down and do
And
the
that's the key,
sampling.
that's her property, so.
Yeah, and which is, I mean, where else would we park? But,
You could park at the library and walk up if there's not too much to carry.
Well,
At the
no, I don't
cemetery,
get out.
the
Well,
cemetery,
yeah,
the
yeah.
cemetery is closer, you just can walk beside the cemetery.
That's a good idea.
well, or, step one is contact Pat, I would
Yeah.
think.
Oh, yeah.
Say, here's what we're doing, it's a public
What, this
service.
neat sticker?
No, you'll make me go test for her. Anyway, step one
Yeah,
is.
I think any landowner gives you permission to get samples off their land.
Right, and she was upset because somebody had asked her
Yeah,
before they
and I
went
should
to
be
park.
getting some kind of documentation that
Mhm.
the landowner has agreed to, and then be very specific.
That's a
So-
good idea too.
This is exactly what we're gonna do. And this is when we're gonna do it, which
Mhm.
when I have the schedule, I can do that and say, here's our sampling dates. We'll be at that site, between 10 and 12.
Right, you'll know exactly when, because it'll be after high tide.
That's probably one of the problems, is that we would just show up. And they, all of a sudden we were there, and then I,
Yeah, you should tell her the dates from the house.
But who knows who it was, because you haven't even started yet.
I mean, right.
Okay. We covered everything you need?
Yeah.
Okay, the last thing is just, plans for tomorrow night's talk at the Historical Society. And I have prepared a talk on Conservation Commission, which will be mostly about the preserve. Which I have put together with the massive help of Catherine. Thank you for the umpteenth time for all you do. And then Theo will take 5 minutes, she said, at the end to talk about the water quality monitoring. And then Neil Cambridge will take, he says, 10 to 15 minutes to talk about what the Resilience Committee has been doing, primarily the solar, I think, but also probably the next big plan, which is to go in together with St. George for a sustainability coordinator, which I think is a really positive step too. So feels like a lot's happening in this town.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I have. Any questions or comments?
No. Me, anyway.
I'm prepared to adjourn if nobody has anything more to say.
Second.
No, you don't need to. Without objection, meeting is adjourned at 6:20.
All right, thank you.
Everybody.
Sandra, where are you going when you take it off?
Iceland and England.
Iceland and England.
Yeah,
You're stopping on the way to England? Is that-
Yeah,
you're stopping on the
yeah.
way to England?
What are the dates again?
May 22nd we'll be back in town June 9th.
Just in time, 2 days before our next meeting.
Right.
Oh, right, and I'm going to ask Linda to send out, I'll talk to you about it, but the agenda, because I like to.
Did you press stop recording?
I'll give you a.
Oh.
It's all being recorded.
Press stop recording.
Let's stop, yes, that would be good. Come on.
All right.
Coming home, stop recording. Yes.